Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're gonna be in the forest, walking around alongside foxes, those cunning little babies. Today we're gonna be looking at Fox in the Forest. This is a two-player trick-taking game from Renegade Game Studios. Today we're gonna do a rule school. I'm gonna teach you how to set up and play the game, rule for rule, so you don't even have to open up that rule book. So without further ado, let's get started. The Fox in the Forest is a trick-taking game for only 2 players, where players will be playing cards of 3 different suits that range from 1 through 11. They're going to be trying to win a certain amount of tricks to try to score them the maximum amount of points, like 0 to 3 tricks for 6 points, or 7 to 9 for 6 points. But if you go over, you'll get none. If you get anywhere in between, you'll get less than the maximum points. There is a random trump suit each round, but standard trick-taking pretty much applies. And all odd cards of all suits have special abilities, like if you lose this, you lead the next trick, or changing the trump suit, or drawing a card and discarding one, or getting extra points for winning that trick, or drawing out the lowest or the highest of that suit. And each round is about the push and pull of the right amount of tricks. First to 21 wins. To set up, one of the players will randomly be assigned the dealer. They'll take all 33 cards in the deck and shuffle them up. Next, the dealer will deal out 13 cards to themselves and to their opponent face down. Place the remaining cards not dealt out in a deck face down in the middle of the table where you both can reach it. Flip one of those cards from the top over, and that is called the decree card. This will be important for the suit during this coming round. Place all the tokens off to the side in denominations of 6, 3, and 1. Those will be used to score later on. Each player will also get a player's reference card. On one side it has a scoring reference, and on the other side it has a card reference showing special abilities that we'll go over in detail later. Now the entire deck in the game is made up of 33 total cards. There's 3 different suits shown by both the color and the symbol on the cards. They also range from 1 to an 11 with 1 of each number for each of the suits, so 11 cards per suit, 3 suits, 33 cards. The object of the game is to score 21 points or more at the end of a round to defeat your opponent. You'll play any number of rounds until that 21 point threshold has been met. Now each round, each player is going to play 13 cards known as tricks. Over the course of the game, you'll be getting points at the end of each round for however many tricks you're able to take. Once a round has been set up, it's time to start the round. This happens by taking the player that was not the dealer, and they are the lead player, and will play their first card face up. Keeping in mind that this is the deck of cards that were extra that were not dealt out face down, and this is the decree card which we'll go over later. They have played this. They can pick any card from their hand. The opponent has to, if they can, follow the suit from the lead player. In this case it was the keys, otherwise known as blue, and they do have one, so they have to throw it. Here is a 4. At this point, since both cards are the same suit, the follower was able to follow the lead suit. It is whoever has the highest value by default of that suit. In this case, the lead player would win because 10 is higher than 4. They would take both these cards, they'd place it face down, and put it in front of themselves. In trick-taking games, it's common fashion that as you win more tricks, you start to lay them out one trick at a time. In this case, each trick is going to have 2 cards, and lay them out in a fashion like this so you can easily see how many tricks you've won so far. The person who took the last trick leads the next trick. In this case, it's the player on the right. They're going to play another key, in this case, a 6. Now, the other player must follow the key if they can, but in this case, let's say they have no keys left in their hand. They can play any card from their hand. In this case, they decide to play a 2 of the orange bells suit. Now, earlier we talked about this decree card. This is important. This is the trump suit currently because it's the card that's face up, which means if there is a trump suit, the highest of the trump suit between the cards is going to win the trick. So for example, this player did not have a key, they decide to play a trump. Even though the number is lower than this one, 2 versus a 6, because it is the trump suit, this card will win the trick. So this player is going to collect these 2 cards and place them in front of them, and they will lead the next trick. Let's say that player leads with a 4 of trump. Well, the other player still has trump in their hand, so they follow, and in this case, the 10 would win. They're both trump. It's the highest of the trump suit, which is the 10. This player would win and collect it like that. So far, I've been showing you cards that are just normal numbers. However, all of the odd numbered cards in the deck have special abilities. And so all the 1, 3s, 5s, 7, 9s, and 11s. each of the numbers have the same ability on them, regardless of which suit they are, so let's go over each of these. Let's start with the number 1 ability. Let's say the player on the left led with the 4. The player on the right followed the same suit with the 1. It says if you play this and lose the trick, you'll lead the next trick. So what this means is that this player is going to win because it's higher of the suit there, so they'll collect both of these, but this player is going to lead the next trick because they played the 1. Normally the player on the left would have led because they had won the trick, but the player on the right will now lead. If both players play number 1 swan cards, whoever loses the trick would start the next trick. In this case, if this player led, this player could not follow, so this player would win the trick, and the player on the right would start the next trick. So let's say that player on the right does lead with an 8 of the purple moons, and the other player follows suit with a 3, which is the fox. It says when you play this card, you may exchange the decree card with a card from your hand. This is the decree card showing trump. That player may, if they want to, place a card from their hand and take this one back up, exchanging it into their hand. In this case, the number 5 woodcutter card was played. The player that played that must draw a card from the top of the deck, and then they must place one underneath the deck like that. It is a forced ability, you must do it. However, you can take the card you just took and put it under there. Let's say the lead player plays a number 7 of the keys. So let's say the other player follows suit. Now what this says is after each trick, the winner receives 1 point for each 7 in the trick. What this means is that the winner of this trick where this 7 was placed is going to get 1 point. In this case, it's going to be this player. He's going to collect both cards as the trick and the 1 point there. However, let's say instead of playing that, this player had no keys left and decided to play this. In this case, since that is the trump suit, this player would win the trick and they're going to win both single points because both 7s were played in one round. Let's assume the player on the left now plays a 10 of the keys. The other player can't follow suit, so they play a 9 of bells. This says when determining the winner of a trick with only 1 9 in it, treat the 9 as if it were the trump suit. In this case, this player played a 9 of bells, and since it's the only 9, it becomes the trump suit, which then defeats this card. So even though this card is lower, it can defeat this card. However, if 2 9s were thrown and neither of them were the trump suit, the lead card would win the trick. If 2 9s were played and trump was one of them, regardless of if they led or not, they would win the trick. And when someone leads with a 9, you must follow that suit if you can. And the last of the ability cards is number 11, the Monarch. When you lead with this card, if your opponent has that same suit, they must either play the 1 of that suit or their highest card of that suit. You'll continue doing this until everyone has run out of cards. There will have been 13 tricks in each round. Now at the end, you're going to count up how many tricks you've won. Here, I've won 7 tricks. And as you can see is the scoring reference card, 7 tricks means I will get 6 points. Which means if I've scored 7, that means my opponent has scored 6, they'll get half the amount of points, 3. And as you can see in the scoring, if you score 0 to 3 tricks, you'll get 6 points. Which means the other player must have scored between 10 and 13 tricks. They're going to get 0 points. That is the biggest swing, and you can see how the scoring changes depending on who has how many tricks. You'll either set up a new round as before, or you'll be ending the game. The game will end if one player has at least 21 points. That player is the winner. If it's a tie, the player who won the most points during the last round is the winner. The game can have a variable play length. For a shorter game, play up to 16 points. For a longer game, you can play up to 35 points, but you'll need a piece of paper and pencil to record the higher scores. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Fox in the Forest and enjoy it quicker than you normally would have. Now, if you have more questions, I've placed a link in the description of this video. If you place your comments there, it'll be the best place because both I will be able to answer them and so will the publisher and some of their staff.